are listening to Supersensory Psychics.
And we're back.
Hi guys, you're listening to the Hazy Radio Network. We are Supersensory Psychics. Okay, so I just have a quick question. Okay, so your thoughts on soul contracts, where you sign a contract or it is embedded in your imprint or whatever you want to call it, your blueprint, for when you incarnate here. This agreement is that you're going to have this connection or relationship with a particular person.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you go along with that?
Oh, yeah. I think our lives are essentially diagrammed before we ever come here to live them. Now, what I've seen, as we're like in the soul state, which is kind of in the in-between world, which is where we think we go when we die. Anyway, as we're in that state, we will commune with other souls and beings, both those here with what they call their higher self, and those in the beyond. And we come up with a life plan, and we kind of assimilate it into being and set its elements in motion, and then we step into it as a baby and start to live it. That's how it works. So it's not really a contract. It's more like a plan. Elements in your life are already set in place, and you just flow into them, and you just become what they are, and you follow that form. And there's flexibility, and you go anywhere with it, but these key elements will be met because you've more or less agreed to them. So that's what I call a contract. But like I say, it's more like a pre-construction done with really with the collective consciousness through essentially what you would call your spirit family, the very ones that we're now going to physically draw to ourselves, are drawing to ourselves to them as this year goes by, So that's what I see it. That's how I see it. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
Another, well, I don't know if it's really a question or a comment, but another thing that I was thinking about is, do you think we kind of have this feeling that we need to be with somebody as a couple simply because before we come here we are essentially a male and female that is divided into two?
We can be like that. We can divide our souls like that, and we have done that, just so we can experience two sides of ourselves here, even from the dumbness. We can do that, yeah. It's not true in every case. We do have, it's like, we do have, I gotta do something with the little Bowser here. Let me let him out for a minute.
He wants to join in, bless him.
Oh.
Yeah, he does. He's a good little boy, but he's a little excitable. When the neighbor's moving around up there, I'm going to put him outside. Hang on just a second. And we'll just get you outside, buddy, huh? I'll let you go out there and look around. You be good boy. Something like that. Okay?
What are your thoughts, Rob?
I'm just listening.
You must have some thought or opinion?
No.
No? Okay.
I'm listening.
Listening and taking it all in.
There, now we got him took care of. We get back to spatial reality here and have some fun. Do apologize for that little rascal. He can't help himself. He means well.
Okay.
So yeah, where were we? Yeah, the soul contracts. Yeah, we dream it into being, then we step into it and live the dream. And like I said, tremendous flexibility. But there's certain key elements. There's certain people we are going to have association with. The coupling thing you were asking me about.
Yeah, it's just basically because if we come here and we are separate from our other half, is this what we're searching for when we're looking for a relationship, a mate, somebody to marry? Is it because we're kind of separated that we feel the need to do that?
Yeah, but it's also because we're severely manipulated into thinking, and it's reinforced by the culture and the music all around us, into thinking that that's the answer to all of life's issues, is to get on a good level with another person and get married and raise children and all that stuff. which the reality of is something kind of opposite that for most people. It becomes a drudgery, it becomes, I mean, there's still a lot of love and joy in it, we wouldn't do it, but brother, it's a hard life, and it becomes a track, and this is why couples become stodgy after a few years, because the sizzle's gone, it's like I say, that connection that we really need to make, that we're really yearning for, is not satisfied in that association. You can have some beautiful moments, but it's not satisfied with.
No, I think also it takes work on both parts to keep that connection and keep the feeling alive. If somebody doesn't want to give themselves freely, and they cut themselves off emotionally, that causes problems as well. So it's not going to work if there's only one party rowing the boat, if you like.
Of course, but the biggest part of it is the insanity of putting two people together and saying that's it, and putting you off in a little isolated box where you own one another and all this crap. That is pure insanity. That is, and it brings up feelings like what you just talked about. Mm-hmm. I remember, I got married really young. I was like 18 years old. My woman was 18 years old when we got married. We'd been dating for maybe 8 months, had known each other maybe a year. And we got to this place where a year and a half down the road, here we are in this little motel in Buffalo, New York, got this cute little 2-month-old baby with us, and we're just looking at each other and saying, what in the hell have we done to ourselves, This is when our open relationship began, because we began to realize what a trap we'd stepped into. And we dearly loved each other. We could communicate heart to heart, soul to soul, that kind of thing, as well as any human could, I reckon. And we had identity with one another. I mean, we stayed together for 30 years. But man alive, and in a normal life we never would have parted, but this ain't a normal life, thank goodness. And I'm not wanting to die this time, I'm wanting to transform it. So I'm glad I don't go to places where I would have surely died, you know what I mean? And that's one of them. That's what happens to people. See, we have to expand our feelings and horizons just a little bit to consider there may be something more than just a one-on-one thing. That maybe, if anything, that's a good beginning. Maybe this is an opportunity to become conscious of the sensual side of our being, to have a safe place in an area where society can't mess with us, and to experience and explore with one another, and to add to the dynamic of our experience. But we're basically looking for that answer inside to that deep yearning, and so we just keep bringing that up in one another, and we keep playing with the elements of it. And as our consciousness increases, we will automatically open to receive of the experience, and it's off the charts. I have to admit, I've seen this. It's off the charts. But open to receive of the experience that will truthfully and divinely, for once and forever, return us home to our heart and allow us to be free to love as we will and be who we are and be loving and respectful to all. And in so doing, change the paradigm. That's ascension once again. One person, 2 people, 3 people step into that place. The entirety of humanity, in my humble opinion, is there with them, and it's only a matter of time until it's all complete and everyone's living in that state. Even sitting here talking about it and having other people listen in is a step in that expansive capability, the return to our heart. You understand, first we have to see the ugliness so that we can step past it. And we have to then challenge every element in our life. And they are being challenged right now anyway, whether we're doing it consciously or not. Challenge every element, including relationship. Challenge it all. Find the truth. See the ugliness. See past the lie. Go through it. You know? I mean, there's a reason why for the majority of history, people have lived tribally. It's only these so-called civilized European cultures, which are essentially Roman in nature, which are essentially Babylonian, they're based on the Babylonian pattern. The Romans are nothing more than an extension of Babylon. And Romans aren't, I mean, that's our law, is Roman law. They call it common law, but it's Roman law. And, you know, it's like, it's amazing how these threads go through history. But if you can see, on that level, the impositions of controls, then it's more easy to see them inside of yourself. I mean, I know exactly where the controls are placed inside of my mind, physically as well as emotionally and spiritually. I know how they operate. I examine them thoroughly, often. You know, I'm learning now how to alter them, so that as I change, as I move away from that which has restricted me, I don't explode, you know, too rapidly. You know, I gain my consciousness in steps and stages, you know, and feed it, kind of spoon feed it to myself. Or actually, the angels are doing it, but kind of spoon feed it to myself. But now I'm getting to where I take bigger and bigger gulps, you know. I'm starting to grow into it. So it won't be long before these restrictions will be ended in me, in my humble opinion. At least that's what I'm seeing right now. And God, I get surprised sometimes. Sometimes it takes a hell of a lot longer than what I think, you know. But I'm becoming aware of those operations in my mind. You know, I've been aware of them on different levels, different ways for many, many years now. That's why I've been able to do what I've been able to do, because I've been able to contain those energies and let the love just pour through me, you know, and not be restricted by anything you would call a dark side or so forth. Not that I ever got rid of it or anything. It's just I was able to contain it, or actually get it to work with me in some instances, and just go do what the heart was leading me to do, and be able to help others open up too, just like we're doing right now. The more we talk about this stuff, it's a sharing of energy, it's a sharing of what I would call divine love, and as it pours through you, it pours through me too. It goes out extensively, energetically patterned after the internet, or the radio waves if it's going out over the air, and touches people, reaches people. And more people then have the lights come on, start moving in this direction. It's a magnetic thing, you see. Humans greatly influence one another. That's why we can have all these great leaders that lead us off into wars and stuff, and admire people so greatly, because we're kind of conditioned like that. It's a way to be going where you need to go, and doing what you need to go. This thing I can't do. Going where you need to go, and doing what you need to do, and living how you need to live. And for the most part, up until these stages of the game, it's always been by unconscious influence. The angels moving you, the spirits moving you, some of your ancestors coming by and taking you by the hand and leading you to this person and away from that person and into this big experience and out of that one. But again, it's all by prior agreement. It all happens. So by sitting here talking about this, I'm just trying to help us prepare for the expansion. You know, none of us are spring chickens, even the young, any longer. People that are being born now, very ascendant souls. You know, the younger generations, you guys' generation, very ascendant souls. You're here to inherit the peaceful planet, and you wouldn't have come if you didn't think it was possible, because you knew you were going to have to go through some crap until it happened, you know. It's just how it works, you know.
We have a question.
Yeah.
We do. Foofy Bunny, who hasn't changed their name, but still, well, obviously Foofy Bunny, nice name. When you're able to attract the light and have a pretty enjoyable life, why does the dark get in there sometimes?
Well, because, you know, you're there to share that light with everyone, and darkness included. I remember one time, this was years ago, I was doing a little tune-in, and a sweat, and I was surrounded by all these dark energies. And they just kept piling in on me. Usually I could just push them aside or take care of them and send them on their way. But not this time. They were there, and they were insisting on, let me in, let me in. Well, finally I just turned my attention to them and says, what the hell do you guys want? We want to go home. So I opened up a way for them to go home, and geez, it was open for a few years. Still is, really. But a bunch of them left then, man. That's back in the 90s. A bunch of them left then. And so when there's darkness in your life, when you're, I mean, every time, this is something I don't talk about too much, maybe I should, every time you tune in, every time you begin whatever meditation, or you take something that will, give you a spiritual experience, you're going to have to deal with the darker side of it first. It always comes up. It's just there. And it's because it's a revelator. It's a teacher. It's a guidance, It'll help you get to where you need to be, And so we need to learn to use that more creatively. So now when I feel the darkness or I see it coming in on me, I embrace it. Quite often I send it on its way to what I'd call the rehab place where it goes gets to know itself. But there are elements that stay with me that I'm transforming inside.
Well, yeah, I can fully see where you're coming from there. Although, we are like yin and yang. There is dark and light side of everything. And we don't necessarily need to be all light. Some darkness is good. I mean, you look out into the universe and what can you see? Darkness, but it's absolutely full of amazing things.
What I've found is when you combine light and dark, when you take the golden light of light and you combine it with that blackness of darkness, you get this passionate purple. That's where passion comes from, is a combination. See, we have to get past the idea of yin and yang, of polarity. We have to get past that. We're no longer living in opposites or opposition. There no longer is equal action and reaction. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen that way, and that was all an illusion anyway. See what I mean about challenging the very basic parameters of life? We have to get there so that you can see how it really works. It's a flow. It's a regenerative flow, man.
I think that the problem with dark is that people fear it. And once you learn not to fear the dark and accept that it exists, then that's half the battle.
Well, yeah, but when you get to that state, then you start to understand that darkness is something that we've created in ourselves, or allowed to be created in ourselves, so we could have this experience in polarity. And it's nothing more than that. I nearly died in my 40s because I'd been fighting this. I got a tremendous load of darkness when I was a kid. I was born with tremendous light. So I guess one balances out the other. But because of that, I've been involved in this struggle all of my life inside. And man, it was wearing me out. I was about dead when I was like 42, got this illness and down you go. That was a good experience, brought me back. But, I learned in that process not to fear the darkness. And I did it by first learning how to respect it. I mean, I couldn't love it because I thought it was evil. You know what I mean? And it was always making all these vile suggestions and trying to lead me in this way and that way. And I just wasn't going to put up with that shit, So I'd fought it for years and years. But now I learned to respect, owing to the presence of a friend who understood what was going on with me. Not many people could, I'm telling. Thank God I had at least one. But anyway, and from there, I've had so much experience with it now that we truthfully are beginning to get to a place where the darkness that I experience inside of myself, as a part of myself, a manipulated part, yes, something that's not exactly portrayed correctly, yes, but so's my light side. And I have seen, like I said, just recently as I started to combine these energies, the passion of purple, the purple of passion. So I understand now what it means to reunion. It's like putting things back together the way they naturally be and no longer having to experience the extremes. We created the extremes so we could know it. Now we do. And let's get on with the program and get back to life. And that's all I'm talking about. polyamory, is just be open to the experience that comes to you, that your heart leads you to, and challenge any restriction that jumps up in your way that says, oh, you cannot do this because, And if it's valid, well, go with it. But if your heart says otherwise, listen to what your heart says. That's all I'm really talking about, is don't make any requirement on anything or anybody. True love does not restrict. You don't own anybody. Nobody owns you. You have no right to tell them anything about what they can do with their personal life. I don't care how close you are, how intimate you are. You have no right. You have your own taste. You can put up with what you want to and not put up with what you want to, but you have no right to tell another person how to live or what to do, or that you're restricted. I own you. You're mine. This marriage thing, babies, start to examine it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying start to examine it. It's got to change, obviously. That's where we're going with this trip, people. We have been, and this is why you keep seeing things like orgies and repetitive partying going on throughout history, because the suggestion is there as to what we truthfully are. And when we can move past all the conditioning we've gotten mostly from the darkness about our sensual side, and don't call it sexual anymore, but let it be sensual, let it be the feeling, let the sexual just be a part of it. Don't let them tell you to isolate it and make it something separate, because then you can't experience life. You can only pass it along. And if that's what you want to do, if you just want to pass life along and die, well, beautiful. That's a great thing to do. But man, it's time to ascend. So let's do something different. Question. And when you do, see where the heart leads. Follow only the purest of feelings. Don't go with the hairball shit. And you know what it feels like. How many times has it happened to you already? So when the hairball shit comes up, just smile and say, what are you really trying to suggest? And then perhaps it'll reveal itself to you. You'll see something a little different instead of the hairball crap. You know what I mean? The stuff that always gets us into trouble, Oh my. It's a hell of a life, isn't it?
Okay, we have a comment from Meredith. She says, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I think I just felt this love for all more universally. Am I weird because now it's harder to get that feeling? Easier with animals. Seems like what Grandpa is saying is that now we should be experiencing more.
Yes, more. But we have to prepare ourselves. We wait for the time of readiness. So we don't go forcing ourselves in anything. We just be open to it. And we just be tuning in and listening to our heart and learning what that really is, what that heart is, and how it is that we do listen to it, how it is we let it take control and flow us along. That's what we do. And as we can do that, then our entire life will open up to a whole other way of being. And it don't matter what stories anybody's told. The reality will reveal itself because you're willing to see it. And you don't need anybody telling you stories anymore in order to know yourself and to know this life. Now, ain't that great?
Okay, I think we've got time for another break, don't we?
Yep, we're top of the hour.
Yep, that'll do. We'll be back in 6 minutes this time. Okay.
Right.